I've been covering the ongoing chaos surrounding mail-in voting for a little while now. We've seen some jurisdictions like Paterson, New Jersey, where 20% of the vote was disqualified. 4 people ended up getting indicted, and an NAACP leader said, cancel the whole election. We've seen in California nearly 100,000 ballots disqualified, and now we're seeing Democratic politicians desperately try to enact certain new legislation to make it so that we can actually functionally have mail-in voting. And you have to wonder, why are they so desperate to have mail-in voting? Right now, Nancy Pelosi says the House has to return to vote on USPS funding in order to protect Social Security checks. However, in their COVID response bill, the Emergency Relief Fund, they wanted funding for the post office. They wanted guaranteed mail-in voting. They are absolutely adamant about making sure we have mail-in voting. Now, of course, many people on the left will argue it's because of COVID, obviously, but that's not true. It is time to definitively debunk the conspiracy theory nonsense and the lies from the left and the Democrats about what's going on with mail-in voting. Anthony Fauci himself says we can have in-person voting. There's no problem. So why such an aggressive push? It's all part of the conspiracy theory. You see, the media allows the left to engage in unhinged conspiracies. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, they allow the left to engage in unhinged conspiracies. But if anyone on the right so much as gets even close to a conspiracy, boom, you're gone. They ban you. The media won't allow anyone to even entertain the possibility of a conspiracy on the right. On the left, it's all we get. Article after article talking about post boxes and mailboxes being disappeared and stolen. The Democrats are now calling for an FBI investigation into the post office, the postmaster general. It is absolutely unhinged and unfounded conspiracy because they are desperate to create a reason why Donald Trump should not have won. And these are the kind of things that make me think Donald Trump is going to win. Why would they be so desperate to create some conspiracy theory like they did last time with Russia? Now they're going to be saying, you see, Trump shut down the post office. No, he didn't. But, well, he was stealing mailboxes. No, he wasn't. Jamie Lee Curtis, the actress, claiming that Trump supporters, may be stealing postal trucks. That's how unhinged they're getting with this. It's absolutely crazy. But there's actual evidence to suggest Trump may be on track to win. New polling has come out showing Trump is closing the gap with Joe Biden. He's doing better than ever. And when you think about maybe the anecdotal evidence, which perhaps isn't as good, I don't know. I got to say, everyone I talk to, I know very few people who are telling me they're diehard for Joe Biden. I know some people. I have some, older friends and even some family members who are very adamant about voting for Joe Biden, but it is the absolute minority. I wonder how many people are really going to be that secret Trump voter, and I think it's going to be massive. And when Trump wins, they will need an excuse, like they've done in almost every election since 1968, claiming it was rigged. They're going to say Donald Trump stole this election. And this is the game they're playing. Let's get started and read through this. I am going to definitively debunk this in the next minute. Just hear me out. Before we get started, however, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There's many ways you can give. There's a P.O. box, but the best thing you can do, subscribe to this channel. About half the people who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed, and that means YouTube's less likely to show you that my videos are live and available. Just below the video player is a little red button that says subscribe. Give it a little click, and now you are much more likely to receive my videos. But if you really want to make sure you get them, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, and if you really want to support the channel, share this video because that absolutely helps. Let's read this story from The Blaze first. They say, as part of her push to get House members on board with her plan to force members to return from recess to vote on a funding package for the United States Postal Service, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sent a letter on Sunday to her colleagues in the House explaining the reason they are being recalled. In that letter, Pelosi argued that it is vital for Congress to immediately pass her funding request because Americans rely on the Postal Service to deliver, among other things, Social Security benefits and tax returns. There's just one problem. The government hasn't been sending those items via mail for over a decade. In fact, the government announced in June 2010 that all Social Security checks would be sent via direct deposit and that people who were scheduled to receive these checks but did not have a bank account would be issued a Treasury Department Direct Express debit MasterCard onto which funds would be loaded electronically. So why is Nancy Pelosi lying? It's desperation. Now, I do believe that mail-in voting is meant to rig this in favor of the Democrats, and I'm going to give you some pretty compelling evidence. But I also believe it's about claiming Trump should not have been able to win because he cheated. It's a twofold strategy. The issue of funding for the USPS has unexpectedly become a hot-button political issue after Democrats accused Republicans of sabotaging the Postal Service in order to prevent increased voting by mail. Democrats have even accused current Postmaster General Louis DeJoy of sabotaging the mail system, claiming without proof that DeJoy ordered the removal of numerous mail collection boxes in order to prevent people from sending out mail-in ballots. In response, a USPS spokesperson pointed out that collection boxes have been dwindling for years per a long-standing policy that calls for their removal when usage falls below a certain level. In fact, the Washington Post noted in 2009 that approximately half of all collection boxes in the U.S. had been removed in the preceding 20 years, a natural consequence to the shift away from paper mail and toward electronic mail as well. And I believe we have a tweet here that shows just this. Gerald Beyer says in 2009 they noted this. But here's what we get. First, I am going to absolutely debunk this, like I said, and then we'll move on to debunking the other mail claims. Anthony Fauci for National Geographic was asked. Deborah Roberts of ABC News says, what about voting? So many people are concerned we're in an election year. Some people are going to be heading to the polls in the next few weeks. Can people safely go out and vote in person, given that this year there is so much concern around the vote? Anthony Fauci, the most trusted name in coronavirus, says, I think if carefully done, according to the guidelines, there's no reason that I can see why that not be the case. For example, when you look at going to a grocery store now in many regions and counties and cities that are doing it correctly, they have X's every 6 or more feet. And it says, don't leave this spot until the person in front of you left their spot. And you can do that if you go and wear a mask. If you observe the physical distancing and don't have a crowded situation, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to do that. I mean, obviously, if you're a person who is compromised physically or otherwise, you don't want to take the chance. There's a situation of mail-in voting that has been done for years in many places, so there's no reason why we shouldn't be able to vote in person or otherwise. There it is. Fauci said it. Anthony Fauci said it. So why then do Democrats want money for the post office? Check it out. House Democrats included $25 billion for the USPS in their coronavirus bill in May, along with an additional $3.6 billion in election security funding. The White House and Democratic leaders tentatively agreed to as much as $10 billion for the Postal Service in their negotiations. But that was contingent on the rest of the agreement being nailed down, which wasn't anywhere near happening. Why are they trying to dump money into the post office? If the post office is being hurt because of longstanding failures and because of the economic shutdown, it's not necessarily the fault of the federal government if they don't decide to fund it right now. We may just need to widen things down. I think, as I've shown you, they're desperate to get mail-in voting. And this is how desperate they are. Democrats urge FBI to open criminal inquiry into Postmaster General. Duo alleged DeJoy has slowed delivery to affect mail-in votes. Pelosi recalls House early in effort to protect post office. They're calling what it was an FBI criminal inquiry into the Postmaster General. What? Now, this is getting unhinged. I'll tell you what. Look at this. The Wall Street Journal says the post office's problem isn't Trump. Democrats cry sabotage, but mail volume is way down, and the USPS is losing billions of dollars. It's just, this is normal. It's completely normal. In fact, every bit of their conspiracy is completely normal. This, to me, is a scam of epic proportions, on par with Russiagate, all over again, blaming Trump for their made-up problems. I'd like to show you this tweet from David Clinch. David Clinch is a journalist, and he works at Storyful. Storyful does social media news gathering for various newsrooms. He tweeted, please stop following and sharing content from this account that consistently posts viral content stolen from others and misleading information on important issues like this. Twitter should take a serious look at accounts like this. Verification. Rex Chapman tweeted, Burbank, California. If your entire life have you ever seen a locked mailbox at USPS? Now you have. A disgrace and immediate threat to American democracy. Shame on them. Shame on the GOP. Where are you, Senate Majority Leader? And he shows this image of mailboxes. And they have red some like blocks put on them, locked to them. Oh no. Oh no, it looks like the mailboxes are locked. Not true. These mailboxes are placed in front of the post office. The post office has a mailbox on it. You can go into it when they're open and drop your mail off. You can literally hand it to a human being. The best part about this, I'll get to in a second, but the reason for this is to prevent vandalism, to encourage people to bring the mail inside when they're open, and to limit theft. And here's the story from Eyewitness ABC7. Social media posts of locked mailboxes in Burbank go viral. Take a look at this. They say, look at this. We noticed the mailboxes can still be accessed from the other side. And there is the lie. This image going viral shows you a mailbox that has two sides. On one, it has an open slit you can put mail in. You can drive up in your car and drop your mail off in the mailbox. They put these on it to prevent vandalism, they say. And on the other side of the mailbox is the normal hatch that you open up, like a normal mailbox. They're lying. This website, the New Civil Rights Movement, for instance, verified by NewsGuard as being green check marks across the board, puts out overt conspiracy theory lies from the left. Because even though I use a service like NewsGuard, they still certify unhinged, far left conspiracy theories that are unfounded. Photos. Trump's postmaster general removing mailboxes in at least 5 states weeks before early voting. Explanation fails. This is fake news. NewsGuard, what are you doing? That's how the name of the game, that's how the bias works. That's how the game works. The left can say any unhinged, nonsensical conspiracy, and you just have to accept it. Take a look at all of these posts. Please share this picture far and wide. Trump is trying to steal the election. They're stealing mailboxes. Here's a truck stealing mailboxes. No, this is a scam. This just induced a hot flash and headache. Mailboxes being removed in Portland, but to Trump's direction, at his direction. Notices have started appearing that mailboxes are being removed. Oh, no. Oh, what's happening? Well, like I showed you before. Gerald Beyer says in 2009, the Washington Post covered the story. They remove mailboxes when nobody uses them. Is using them. In fact, take a look at this PDF. The Office of the Inspector General for the U.S. Postal Service. They say that as, mailboxes are underused, they start removing them. As the post office adapts its collection infrastructure to meet customers' needs, it has eliminated underused collection boxes that on average receive fewer than 25 pieces a day and added collection boxes that are convenient for customers. They're not removing them. In some instances, they're replacing them. And in other instances, they're relocating them to higher trafficked areas to help you with your mail. Take a look at this. The Office of Inspector General actually found they should have been removing more in 2015. They say, it's right here, the Eastern Area's collection box removal process was not effective. While the area and its 10 districts had established procedures for removing and relocating collection boxes, they were not consistently followed. Our analysis indicated an additional 1,808 collection boxes could have been removed and another 637 relocated. In fact, they should be removing more. Now I'm going to show you the real name of the game here. I'm just going to come out and say it, man. We've got some dirty tricks afoot. I believe I've thoroughly debunked, for one, Fauci said we don't need mail-in voting, so drop it. If anyone ever brings this up to you about mail-in voting, say, oh no, Fauci said you're good. For everybody else, guess what? You can simply request an absentee ballot. The difference between the two, absentee you request, you're verified. Mail-in, universal, means they go up randomly. We don't want random, widespread, universal ballots flying around that can't be tracked. Absentee ballots are tracked. Here we go. Major U.S. Postal Workers Union endorses Biden for president. Done. August 14th. I am done. That's it. I personally will not allow the post office, whose union has already endorsed a candidate, to be handling my vote. I want to ask you a question. Let's say you hate Donald Trump and you want to vote for Joe Biden. And a guy walks up to you wearing a MAGA hat and says, don't worry, give me your ballot. I'll make sure it gets where it needs to go on time. You'd say, no way. Imagine if you were going to mail it in and said, I'm going to do it FedEx Direct. And the FedEx guy walked up with a MAGA hat on. You'd be like, no way am I giving you my ballot. Because you're a Trump supporter. The same is true in the inverse. There is no way I'm giving my ballot to a Biden supporter. I don't care who you're voting for. Why? The Postal Workers Union has endorsed Joe Biden. Well, that's it. I don't want them going anywhere near the election. That, to me, is the biggest problem we face here. So the Democrats are right now advocating for cash to give to the union who is supporting their party and will handle our votes. Nice try. Nice try. I'm not playing that game. CNN reported in 2017, the USPS improperly enabled workers who helped the Clinton campaign. It goes beyond just the union endorsement. We actually have that problem. You see, what they found is that I'll read it to you. The investigation, as documented in a report from the Office of Special Counsel, said the U.S. Postal Service granted employees union leave time off at the request of the union to do political activity, which OSC concluded was a systematic violation of a law regarding the political activity of federal employees. And there you go, man. You got federal employees, and they're actively giving, I don't know, I'll be careful in my wording. They support Biden, they've endorsed Biden, and they're giving special access and privileges to people to do political activity on behalf of the Clinton campaign. Sorry, I'm not going to give them my vote, and I believe we should resist at all costs any of these people touching our ballots. Could you imagine? You have a fleet of these people in the union. Could you imagine if, like, the Make America Great Again campaign were the ones that were tasked with going around collecting votes? Well, that'd be absurd. Why? They've endorsed Joe Biden. What about the police union? Let's say the police union said, don't worry, we're cops. We're going to take care of the ballots. It's more secure that way. You're like, no way. The SBA in New York just endorsed Trump. We shouldn't allow this bias. It is election insecurity to an absurd degree. So I can't tell you why they're actually trying to push this, other than I think Trump is winning. I really do. And I think they're trying to undermine confidence in the election. From Cassie Hunt, voters losing confidence. 45% of Americans say they are not confident the result of the election will be counted correctly. 45% say they are confident, a 14-point drop. And it has to do with everything we're seeing. Here's the problem with mail-in ballots. They might not be counted. And that's especially true for younger, minority, and first-time voters. That's the name of the game. We can go back in time. There's an article from 2009, August 2009. USPS goes postal on Obama after post office crack. Obama said, UPS and FedEx are doing just fine. It's the post office that is always having problems. True hypocrisy. Obama can say it. They get angry about it back then. Now, however, the Republicans say it. Look, I understand the Republicans play silly games. In a few years, the Republicans will be saying the same thing. Democrats will be saying, I don't like either party. Trump is actually very, very different. And there are a handful of politicians I find to be very different. But for the most part, I think they're all trash. The more important issue here is Democrats are trying to play a dirty game to give people who support them access to our ballots, or at the very least claim it's a conspiracy. Donald Trump cheated the election because Trump is narrowing the gap. Trump narrows gap in the polls, but Biden still holds commanding leads. And there it is, isn't it? Trump is starting to close the gap in multiple polls. Here's one from CNN just the other day. Biden's lead over Trump narrows in new national poll. Well, Forbes mentions the Real Clear Politics average has Biden from a 10-point lead down to a 7-point lead. And now CNN has said that it's just 4 points. Biden at 50, Trump at 46. My friends, that is margin of error territory. Do the polls matter? Maybe not. Maybe they're all bunk. Maybe they're all wrong. But I tell you this, man, 4-point gap, margin of error territory. And when you consider that Hillary Clinton won the popular vote, and this is a national poll, Trump's on track to win the Electoral College, same as he did last time. And there it is. They will claim, not Russia this time, but that Trump used the post office, crippled them, kneecapped them, therefore he cheated to win. Because there's no way he could have won, right? Well, they're wrong. There absolutely is a way he could have won because he's actually talking about issues people care about. I mean, for me right now, I'm sorry. I am a one-issue voter at this point. The riots must stop. They must stop. And that's why I'm not going to be supporting Democrats. Probably going to vote for Trump because he's the only one talking about doing anything, or the only one who's actually tried to do things. Now, over on Matthew Iglesias' Twitter, one of the founders of Vox, he actually points out something very interesting. He says, brutal but important reality check from Dylan Matt. Based on interviews with top advisors, Biden appears to be committed to a form of procedural moderation and bipartisan deal-making that could wreck his presidency from day one. Even Vox, Matthew Iglesias, recognizes Biden could actually lose this. Here's why. Gallup noted this last year, the shift in the Democrats' ideology. They say up to 2018, 46% of the Democratic Party identified as liberal and only 35% moderate, 17% as conservative. I would be surprised if any of them are conservative at this point, which means Biden needs to play to the far left, but the far left is small. I wonder if what we're really seeing here is not that Democrats are becoming far left, but that people are walking away. You may have seen the walk away movement. A lot of people saying no more to the Democratic Party, and they're leaving. There have been high profile announcements and party switching going on for quite some time. I mean, Jeff Van Drew, elected as a Democrat, switched to the Republican Party in South Jersey. Maybe what we're really seeing is that as moderates and conservatives quit the party, all that's left is the far left. It could be wishful thinking. In reality, it could just be that the Democrats are becoming further and further left. They're more far left they've ever been, and that this is a shift in the party. Maybe. I don't think we're seeing a dramatic decline in the amount of affiliated Democrats, people who are registered with the party. But we did see reporting from Axios not too long ago that said Republicans are making major gains in signing up voters, but not new voters, people who are switching from Democrat to Republican. They're stealing away these voters. To me, that's absolutely fascinating, because what that means is this is a strategy progressives have been talking about. They want to light up new voters who don't vote because they're progressive or far left and feel disenfranchised. But by doing so, they are sacrificing the center. And Donald Trump is picking them up. But let's be real. While we can talk all about these weird goings on, the post office and all this other nonsense and whether or not Trump's going to win, I want to show you the effectiveness of fake news. Take a look at this poll. Government response to COVID. How satisfied are you with the U.S. government's current response to the outbreak? 50% are not satisfied at all. 11% are not very satisfied. And then we have 24 mostly satisfied and 12 completely satisfied, 2% unsure. You see, when it comes to the U.S. government, people blame the federal. They blame Trump. They blame the federal government. They blame Trump for what's going on with COVID, even though he didn't make it happen. And because of the Constitution, there's not much Trump can actually do. What's he supposed to do? He's supposed to override all of these governors, tell them what they have to do, what they can and can't do. Well, it doesn't matter what he can or can't do and what he's supposed to do. What matters is people are mad at Trump over COVID. That's a fact. And I'll show you. How satisfied are you with your state and local government's current response to the COVID outbreak? 41% mostly satisfied, 10% completely satisfied. While we have 48% that are on the not very satisfied, not satisfied at all or not very satisfied, we have 51 that are mostly or completely satisfied. Local governments? But they're the ones responsible for everything. They're the ones who are or aren't doing the job, not Trump. Trump's constrained under the Constitution from stepping over his bounds and forcing the states to do anything. Keep that in mind. While the polls may be shrinking, Trump is entering margin of error territory with CNN. It's all good news for Trump. His approval rating is floating around 43% in aggregate, which is his average for the presidency. I think we may be looking at a Trump victory, maybe not a Trump landslide, though I certainly feel that way personally because of the chaos. I think reality says Trump's probably going to win. They're going to claim this is what they're doing with mail-in voting to wrap everything up. They're either going to get their people, post office union who supported them, to be the ones handling our ballots. I don't trust that. It's going to very much favor them at a time when Fauci said they don't need to. Or if they lose, they'll just claim that Donald Trump cheated to win and it's illegitimate. And then we will get all of the stupid investigations all over again. They need something. But you know what? Here's what I want you to do. From now on, if anyone ever says we must have mail-in voting, just show them that Fauci quote and say, why? Fauci said no. Fauci said no. We're done. Are we done here? All right, I'm done. Next segment's coming up at 6 p.m. over at youtube.com/TimCastNews. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.